Everyone, welcome to the Ask
Hello.
Ken show. So grateful to have you here today. We're going to have a great time. This is the Ask Ken show. It's a platform where I can allow my audience to go ahead and basically write any of their questions to to ask basically any questions that you would like to about spirituality. And it's a great forum to be able to do that because where else can you go to get these kind of spiritual questions asked? And then another reason why I do this is because like I want to teach my students how to basically live channel, like show them that they can live channel and do this kind of stuff. And you don't have to be all like woo woo about it. Don't get me wrong. I love woo woo stuff. I'm a big woo woo person, but you don't have to be when it comes to channeling and spirituality. You can just channel live anywhere, anytime, on the spot, in the moment, any situation, in any circumstance, who you're getting your messages from. And thank you, Iona, for joining us today. She's going to
You're
be
welcome.
hosting the show. So the great, awesome Iona. And basically, if you have any questions, just type them in, and then she will see the questions come up. Anything about spirituality, and then she will relay those questions to me, and then I can live channel the answers. So why
Yeah.
don't we go ahead and get started?
Yeah, let's get started. So, um, first off, we've got why is it sometimes you see your spirit guides clearly and sometimes you don't?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of variables in that. Let's say instead of see your spirit guides clearly, there's a whole bunch of different clairs. There's six different clairs. There's clairvoyant, which is clear seeing, like in your mind's eye, an image of your spirit guides. There's clairaudient, you might hear their voice in your mind of your spirit guides. There's clairsentient, you might feel their emotions, feel their like presence and all that, and get messages through that means. It's called clairsentient sensing. And then there's also clairalience, or clear aliens, clear smelling, which you might actually get smells from your spirit guide. And then there's also clairgustance, clear tasting. And then there's also claircognizant, which is a clear knowing one. And what can happen in our spiritual journey is that we can have times that we're more connected to our spirit guides and times that we're not. I don't know if you've ever gone through this, Iona, but like
Yep.
it, and like there's a gazillion different reasons why this could happen. Like there's like all sorts of different variables that are involved in this, and there's things like you could have, like, you're in a triggered state, or maybe you weren't getting enough sleep, or maybe your health isn't quite up to par, or you haven't been doing the fundamentals like meditating or just basic kinds of things like that. So there's a whole bunch of different variables. Then there's also the fact that your spiritual aspects might not be quite as healthy as they can be. Life happens. And so that's why I suggest to my students that they do regular maintenance on their healing, on their spiritual health, their spiritual growth, because think of it kind of like a house, right? You have a house and your place just gets dirty. Like there's just, like it needs regular cleaning. So some people hire cleaners for, twice a month or something like that, or once a week or whatever it is. So you can do the same thing where you have people that, you can have aspects of you that have maybe, just because of life situations, some you're driving your vehicle down a road, and then all of a sudden some jerk cuts you off, and you're like, ah! Right, and then that can throw some of your systems out of whack. Just to give you some context on this, is from the channeling that I've done, I've been able to identify over 100 different non-physical aspects that make us up as a human. And in the ideal world, it would be nice if everything was working together, working in unison, all these different aspects, and that's just not the case. So sometimes these different aspects might have not so good times or not so good days, and then they're conflicting against the other aspects, and then it affects your connection or your communication with your spirit guides. So there's a lot of those different variables. And so two things. One, I already mentioned one of them, but the other one is, if you have any healing modalities of your own, please, I really encourage like self-healing, self care. Take care of yourself. Exercise, eat healthy, all that other stuff. But then also, if you have any, like, pranic healing or Reiki healing or any kind of other modalities that you can do healing on yourself, I recommend doing that on a regular basis. And then the other thing I also recommend is going out and seeing other healers on a regular basis, which is what I do as well. So that's a regular. I actually just saw a healer few days ago. So it's a regular part of my routine, weekly, monthly routine that I see healers on a regular basis for that exact reason. Um, so another aspect that could affect us, or another thing that could affect us, is also external things. So we could have different kinds of souls that might affect us that maybe aren't of the light, or we could have different kinds of beings that could affect us that are maybe not of the light. And it doesn't matter whether you're spiritual or not, whether you're a channeler or not, or whatever. If you're even if you're not spiritual, you can still have external spirits or external things that can affect us. So that's why it's also important to know what's going on in the spirit realm, like not just inside you, of course, know what's going on inside and your different aspects, but then also with channeling abilities, you can actually be aware and observe what's going on around you, so that if there is anything external that's not of the light that might be affecting you, there are tools and techniques that I teach my students on how to basically expel these things, that so that they never bother you again, and then you're basically clear of any of that interference that can also affect you. There is also like static distortion interference. Speaking of interference, that's another thing that I clear on my students. And if I think of it like kind of like a fuzzy halo in your auric field or in your vicinity around you, so that could affect the communication as well. And then yeah, it could be your auric field, it could be your etheric self, it could be a whole bunch of gazillion different aspects that could be affecting your communication. There's also another aspect. It's called your transmitter receiver junction box. That's an aspect of, you think of it like a hub or a router that you have in your home for your data communications.
Mhm.
So if the router or the hub isn't quite as healthy as it can be, that can affect it. But then also, I've had some of my students where I'm scanning them and I'm like, oh, it's not the router or the hub, it's the actual connections to the spirit realm that are frayed. And so with healing, I can heal that router, that hub, and then I can also heal the connections as well. And then also there's the at times we've grown, or other aspects have grown significantly, let's say over the last year or two, or maybe a few months even. And now our transmitter receiver junction box needs an upgrade. So think of it like all your other systems are working, and they're like all your other systems are working like at a really high rate, but there's this one aspect that's hindering you, holding you down. Kind of like if you think of a car and you start upgrading and enhancing all these different components of the car. Well, you could do that all you want, but if there's one component, what's called the limiting factor, the one that's limiting you, it won't matter how much you upgrade those other aspects, because it's hindering you. So sometimes your transmitter receiver junction box actually needs an upgrade, spiritual upgrade on it as well. So I
Mhm.
provide that service as well. Great question. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've done a couple of those upgrades during your ascension healing on the monthly basis. I highly recommend them. Um, I I attend them on the regular, and yeah, it's helped me so much in just clearing stuff. Helped me with upgrades, and then yeah, the communication that I have with my spirit guides and stuff. It's been really great. So before we jump to the next question, Patrick jumped into the conversation and says hi, Ken. And then
Yeah. Hi, Petra. Thanks for saying hi. She's
And
from Holland.
Amanda Amaro has also said hello from Facebook.
Hi, Amanda. And also, we have Shani, who has a question that come in from Instagram. So she said, "Do instincts have their own aura? Aura? Do instincts have their own aura?" That's a good question.
That's an interesting question.
I'm getting more on the no side. Um, Shani, if you're still watching, just if you could give a bit more context on that question. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Amanda. Is because I think she's trying to maybe ask something else, like, do instincts have their own like conscience or consciousness? And I'm getting a strong yes on that one. Okay, so just to differentiate between Iona, do you want to hear the difference between instincts and intuition?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do that. That's a really important one. Um,
Yep.
so for years and years and years and years, people always telling me, "Ken, follow your intuition, follow your intuition, follow your intuition." I'm like, Okay, I guess whatever that means. Like, I had no idea what they meant. Like, what does follow your intuition mean? Like, follow your intuition, and then they're like, follow your intuition, follow your intuition, and to hear that, this guru talk about it, or this person tell me this, or I'd watch this, or read this book about it, and it was always like follow your intuition. I didn't never knew what it meant. So then with channeling, I'm like, okay, let's figure this out, Ken. What is intuition really? And so the difference between instinct and intuition, your instincts are like the primal part of you that keeps you alive. It keeps you safe. It's that part of you that if there's like a saber-toothed tiger way back in the ancient days, and you're like, all of a sudden you're like, I don't know why, but I just feel like I have to go the opposite way and start running the opposite way. And then next thing you know, the saber-toothed tiger jumps out of the bush and starts running after you. That's the part that will keep you alive. So it's a primal part of you that goes way back from our ancestors, back to our caveman days. Um, and it's a very important part of us. Intuition is different. Your intuition is that it's a combination of either messages that you're getting from your soul, your higher self, or your spirit guides, or your soul and your spirit guides, your soul and your higher self, or your higher self and your spirit guides. And that's what intuition is. So that's when you know how to channel your soul, and just your soul and your soul only, that's great, that's wonderful. And then when you just know how to channel your higher self, that's great, that's wonderful. It's awesome. And then when you just know how to channel your spirit guides, that's great. That's wonderful. That's awesome. But then when you know, and then you learn how to do that individually on a individual basis, and then you could start to connect. Okay, am I getting this intuitive guidance? Is it coming from my soul? Is it coming from my higher self, or is it coming from my spirit guides, or a combination thereof? And then from there I could start to extrapolate more detail, more information on that guidance and where I'm being guided to go. And that is intuition. So that's the key. And by the way, if any of you are watching, write that down. If you can master that, you'll be 1,000 times ahead of the other 8 billion people on this planet, because nobody that I know of has ever been able to hack this and actually figure this out. Like philosophers from the eons, from way back in the day, and all the even the kings and the queens and the gurus of the past have all been like, what is intuition really? There it is. I just laid it out for you. So please access that. Practice channeling your soul, practice channeling your higher self, practice channeling your spirit guides. And then from there, you'll be able to access intuition like nobody else. It's incredible in a cool way. And so going back to consciousness, or sorry, do instincts have their own aura? Or so I'm getting a no on that. So basically our aura is the part aspect around us that it's not the only part, but it's one of the part that provides like protection. If your aura has like holes or tears in it, it can leak, and you can be all tired all the time because you're leaking energy. It can also, if you have holes and tears in it, it can also make you more susceptible to external spirits or entities that are not of the light that could affect you in an unhealthy way. And then also too, if you're an empath, which probably most of you who, by the way, if you're an empath, just give me a shout out, say I'm an empath. So woo woo, shout out to the empaths, you're awesome. And it's not a bad thing, it's an empowering thing. But if you are an empath and your auric field isn't as healthy as it can be, then you might be much more permeable or susceptible to other people's emotions, or to environments that maybe aren't clean or clear. And have you ever like walked in a room and you're just like, whoa, right? And so your auric field isn't the only aspect of you that is involved in this. I do teach a whole empath development training and workshop on that in my mastermind class. So there's also like your toroid field, your etheric self, your a few other aspects that like your chakra system needs to be healthy, and on and on and on, for all those systems to work at their fully health, their full basically health, optimal health. So do instincts have consciousness? The answer I'm getting is yes, a very strong. So not do instincts have an aura? I'm getting a no on that, but do they have conscience? And the answer is yes on that. So they are living entities. They, I feel them right now, kind of like almost like floating around you, like they are in you as well, but also around you at the same time. If that makes sense. If you know anything about quantum physics, they could kind of be in two places at the same time. So sort of like omnipresent. And then though they're constantly tuning into you and your environment and other people and other aspects around you. So yeah, definitely.
Hence why you turn away from the saber-toothed tiger, because there's something on the outside.
Yeah,
Yeah. Cool.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, if you're watching this, by the way, the Ask Ken show. So two things. One is if you're watching, just give send your name, where you're from, and I'll give you a shout out. And then also, if you have any questions about spirituality, just type it in the chat box there, and I will live channel the answers for you. So if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and do that. Go ahead, Iona.
Yeah. So just um on that whole like intuition versus instinct kind of thing. So say I'm getting ready to go out for the day and stuff. Weather forecast is really sunny and stuff, but something tells me I need to take my umbrella. Is that instinct or is that intuition?
I'm getting that's more instinct. Interesting, because I would have thought that would be intuition, but right now in this
I was
moment,
thinking that was more intuition too, but
yeah, no, I'm checking right now, and that's more instinct because it's more of a
yeah.
primal thing. It's more of it's more like a safety, like back, like now we're pretty spoiled with our modern technologies. But
Mm-hmm.
back in the day, when we were caveman, we didn't have, this kind of like, oh, let's pull out an umbrella, and like literally the weather, the environment could like kill us. Like it's a survival thing, you know.
Right.
Interesting thing. I had a dream last night about a flood where I was like, I had like a family of four. There was me, my partner, and two kids, young kids. And then all of a sudden, the water started rising super high, and I'm like going to the top of the fence, and then it rose even higher than that. So I was like, I swam back in the house to save the kids. The boy didn't make it. The daughter did, but not the boy. And I was just like, oh, and I woke up. But like real things like that back in the day, like like in the um, caveman days. Like, yeah, it's instinct. It's a survival thing.
Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah, I'm getting it's a little bit of both, but it's more on the instinct side. Interesting. Yeah, good
Yeah.
question. Yeah, I
Okay.
love this stuff.
Yeah. So Michelle, and I apologize if I butcher your last name, Yucham, from Williams Lake, BC, says hello.
Hi, Michelle. Welcome.
And next question is, what do you do for your personal development, and why is this important to you?
Yes, good question. Like what I do is I'm very adamant about it. So a little tip, two little tips for all of you viewers watching is one is only go to healers that are doing their own healing work. Please, 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 please. Don't let healers that are not doing their own healing work on you because it could be very dangerous. My experience, and I've had this happen personally, where they might be a great, amazing, talented, and nice people, good intentions, all that. But if they're not doing their healing work on a regular, monthly, weekly, monthly basis, then they could actually be becoming more and more unhealthy over the months and the years. And then so that when they work on a person, even if it's not intentional, some of that might leak into you. So one of my clients and colleagues, she mentioned about like anytime somebody works on you, they leave like like a little signature of them on you. And again, most of the time it's fine, it's good, it's not bad or anything. But if the person is unhealthy and they don't even realize it because they're not doing their own self maintenance and self care and their own healing through other practitioners, then some of that can seep into you, and especially like if it's been months or years since they've done any healing of their own. You'd be surprised how many healers don't actually do their own healing work. It's pretty shocking. So I'm very adamant about that. And then the other thing I'm very adamant about is also doing my own regular personal development training with other practitioners, other trainers out there in the world. So like I used to certify Reiki masters, but I just attended like a Reiki course just to kind of like a refresher. And like now the stuff that I train is way more advanced than Reiki, but I like to see kind of what other teachers are doing. And then I also attended and took a certified pranic healing training and stuff like that a few years ago, 2 years ago. And then every year I try to do 1 to 2 major trainings. So I'm very like I did like a Vipassana 10-day silent retreat. That was my second one that I've done, and then I just did like a Joe Dispenza training. That was a 1 week retreat, and then I'm off to I'm going to be doing another one right away on a channeling training, guy named Paul Selig, and then stuff like that. So I'm doing these regular trainings on purpose so I could better, obviously for my own personal growth, but also so I could better serve you, better serve the public. And I'm constantly upgrading my skills rather than becoming stagnant. And also seeing what other leaders in the industry are doing, so that I can better serve my public and my students and my audience, because it's a really important part for me. But it's not just these once, every once or twice a year that I'm doing this. I'm doing all these little things on a regular basis as well. I'm attending these smaller events, these 2-hour classes or workshops or trainings. So if you can try to make it a regular habit of going out of your way to purposely attend and do personal development trainings. There might be some smaller ones, there might be some online ones, there might be some in-person ones. But I do suggest that once or twice a year you try to do like some big like certification kind of programs or courses or stuff like that to really give a massive boost. And in the long run, like I do spend a lot of time and money on these investments because I've found in the 20 plus years that I've been in the channeling spirituality industry is that it's all helped to get me to where I'm at now. Does that make sense, Ariana?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then for some of you watching, like one of the big investments might be is to, in time and money or whatever, is to attend my channeling workshops. So I have regular online channeling workshops that you can
Mhm.
attend, and that would be an investment in your spiritual growth. In my opinion, channeling is the foundation to all spirituality. And if there is anything that I suggest to a new person who is, kind of dabbling in spirituality, or even someone who's advanced and been around for a while, is take a certified channeling workshop so that you can actually get that as your foundation really solid. And then, because everything, in my opinion, from when it comes to spirituality, channeling is the foundation to everything else. So if you don't have that foundation, you're just kind of winging it. You're guessing. You're making assumptions. You don't know really who you're talking to, who you're channeling. But when you have channeling as your foundation, I'll teach you like how to channel all sorts of different kinds of souls, like random
Mhm.
souls, ascended master souls, spirit guides, loved ones, your soul family, and on and on and on. And then all different kinds of beings like sprites and fairies and crystal divas and pixies and angels and dragons and on and on and on. And when you know how to, and it's more than that, it's way more than that, it's how to do like past life readings, ancestral readings, loved one readings, all sorts of different other kinds of modalities. And
Mhm.
when you know how to do all that, like really good, and you're adept at it, you're confident in it, then the stuff you can do with channeling is infinite. Like there's no limit to what you could do. It's just incredible.
Very cool. Yes, it is. I highly recommend, even if you don't want to go past the whole, you know, um, reading other people and loved ones and stuff. I do highly recommend, if you're even just for yourself, to do Ken's level one.
Yeah,
He breaks it right down to, he breaks it down so that you know exactly and can identify each and every single part of like each chakra, and then he breaks it down to each of your spirit guides and your
yeah.
higher self, your soul, so you
Past
can
life
identify
regression.
what you're dealing with, because that was for me, that was the scariest part for me, in going down this route. I always kind of, I was always interested in the paranormal and psychic stuff and that, and I just was afraid, and then I found out that Ken was doing these things, and I was like, okay, I'm on board, I want to take it. And yeah, so I'm really grateful that we
Do it,
reconnected. I was able to take your
yeah,
courses. They've been amazing. So
and then
level one for sure if you're doing personal.
do it properly, do it safely, make sure you're competent at it, you know what you're doing. Everyone channels. So whether you take my courses or not, or anyone else's courses, everyone channels. It's impossible not to. Like, have you ever given somebody a
Yeah.
message and then you didn't, you're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you said that. That's exactly what I needed to hear. Most likely it's because you were channeling their spirit guide and passing a message of their spirit guide through you to them. And so we've all
Yeah.
done this before. People have done it with you, you've done it with other people. And the two main things that I help my students do is know how to channel, like know how to do what you've been doing all your lifetime, this whole life,
Hmm.
all your life you've been channeling. So
Yeah.
teaching you actually what you already have been doing and being conscious,
Yes.
being aware of it. And then the second thing is how to channel at much, much, much greater levels and like super advanced levels. Because when you when you know what you're doing and you know how to do it at advanced levels, there's no limit to what you can do. And so it's fun. Like spirituality is meant to be fun, which is my slogan. So spirituality is meant to be what? Fun.
Fun.
So we have fun with it. We keep it light. We keep it playful
Yep.
because
Yep.
too many people
I don't
take
know
this
how
stuff
many
way too
times.
serious.
Yeah. I don't know how many times taking your courses I was just like, is that what that was? Was that what I was doing? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like it just, you kind of like, just, yeah, you just kind of laid it out there. And it was kind of like, oh my gosh. Okay. So I have been doing this. I just didn't realize that that's what I was doing. So it's really cool. Highly recommend. All right, so we've got Amanda has first of all, she's
So,
Armanda is living in Soyos, BC, and loves listening to your podcast, and you're so informative. Thank you. She does recommend 100% taking your
thank you.
courses. Truly
I got
grateful that I took
goosebumps.
it. Allowed me to have clearer understanding of how to do it safely. Fun, fun, fun. And then she actually has a
So
leaning into a
before
question.
Yeah, before we get to a question, just
Yeah.
real quick, I want to give a shout out on Instagram, some of my viewers. So if you're watching this, just give your name, where you're from. I'll give you a shout out. So I want to say hi to Shawine, Shawayne, from Banff, Canada. Yay, awesome! I used to live in Canmore, so that's pretty cool in Canada. And that's just outside of Calgary, for those of you wondering, in Canada. And also
Mhm.
Carla from Panama, super awesome lady. Actually went to Joe Dispenza. She was one of the biggest influences on me signing up for that training. So thank you, Carla, for that. And yeah, if you any, there's a whole bunch more other people
Cool.
watching, but yeah, just put your name because it's hard to read your Instagram handle because they're all weird like letters and combinations. So let's get to Amanda's question. I'm excited for it. What is it?
Yeah. So Armanda says, it is said animals, especially cats, are able to see past the veil and are therefore able to feel bad spirits as to protect you and also charge your energy. I find my cat staring at my photos on the wall for a long time. What is she absorbing? I find it very interesting.
Yes. So there's multiple questions in there. First of all, animals are incredible. I do teach animal communication as well. So if you want to learn about how to, I just did an intro animal channeling workshop the other day. It was
Mhm.
so much fun. Man, I have massive goosebumps right now. Woo! Spirit guides are loving these questions. So the animals have an amazing ability, like spiritually connected. They're so incredible. I love working with animals
Mhm.
because of that reason. It's just they're so naturally. So have you ever like, Iona? Have you ever like had like all of a sudden I don't know if you have a pet or not, but like you all of a sudden your pet's like,
Yep. I have
and you're
five
just sitting there.
cats.
Yeah, yeah,
I
and you're
have
just sitting there,
five
and then you're
cats.
like, what are they
And
looking
yes,
at, right?
mine are constantly watching things. Yeah, like most of
Yeah.
the time it's my dragon flying around and they're like, "What are you doing?" kind of
Yeah,
thing. But yeah,
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 yeah. So
always
sometimes
looking
it
at
could be
things.
a
Yeah.
dragon or it could be other things. So
Yeah.
that's because animals are so like in tune with. And by the way, if your cat ever does that, it could be that they're going like psychotic. But most likely it's because they're actually tracking and tracing like a spirit. They're tracking them.
Mhm.
So yeah, and then if you have channeling abilities, like if you have taken my channeling training, for example, and you see one of your pets doing that, dogs do it too sometimes. Just instead of going, oh, what's the pet looking at like a dumb human? No, actually, take a moment. You have the channeling abilities. Take a moment, ground center, channel using source energy, tune into what's going on around you, and actually
Mhm.
feel. And most likely it's probably a fine spirit or whatever, but it might not be. And if it is, if it's not a healthy one or good for you, then use the expulsion command to expel it. But if it's fine, like a good one that's okay to be around you, then figure out who it is. Like, is it a loved one? Is it a spirit guide? Is it a soul family member? Sometimes it's just a random soul. Like I've been in a place where like all of a sudden a random soul just like come through the walls, and I'm like, hey, what are you doing here? It'll look at me. It'll be like, what? You see me? You acknowledge me? I'm like, yeah, yeah. What's going on? He's like, oh, nothing, just passing through. I'm like, okay. keep going. Like, no big deal. They're not bad. They're not malevolent. They're just a random soul, right? So sometimes
Yeah.
I'll get them that come through my place, but sometimes a pet will see that soul or whatever it is, that spirit. So it's pretty funny. So then the other question. Thank you, Amanda, for the questions. This is great. So, are there the feel the bad spirits to protect you? The answer is yes. Depending on what kind of pets, not like I'm getting a more of a yes on quite a few pets. Can they protect you from bad spirits? To some extent, it depends. Like that's a big topic. There's so if you think of like lost souls, for example, there's a wide range of lost souls. A lot of them are
Mhm.
benign. They're not harmful. They're just lost. So with channeling techniques, I teach my students how to cross them over. There's also ones that are way on the other extreme where they are super super like bad, like I don't want to say evil because like spirits or souls aren't really evil, they're just unhealthy. So
Mhm.
even those ones, though, when they're crossed over, they get the healing that they need and the rehabilitation and all that other stuff, and most are somewhere in between. So can animals protect from bad spirits? I'm getting some of the ones on this end of the range, the ones that are more in the like the middle to benign end. But the other ones, it doesn't matter how many pets or cats or whatever. Some of them they'll come in anyways. They're
Mhm.
the ones on this side of the spectrum are the ones that like are you see on like those ghost hunter shows that are like spooking people and knocking things off the shelves and like scaring people and all that stuff. So those ones are definitely dangerous. They can affect a person detrimentally in a very bad way. It's happened to me in my early days in my channeling. Now I know how to identify them and how to get rid of them, and then I teach my students how to do this as well. And then there's beings. Beings aren't souls. Beings are a whole different category. And in the ideal world, all beings would be of the light. They're not. So again, your pets might be also identifying beings that are not of the light and all that. So that's why I do recommend my students try to get some training behind their belts so that, and again, if you don't, the stuff still is going to happen, but you just either won't be aware of it, or even if you are, you won't know what to do with it. So that's why I've developed this curriculum and why I dedicate my life to teaching and empowering people how to channel.
Mhm.
And then as for the pictures, she's looking at the wall and absorbing. It's not, I'm not getting that she's, so what your cat's actually doing is tuning into the souls of the pictures on the wall, not really absorbing the energies.
Mhm.
So that is an interesting question. She's like, basically, her question is, um, my cats are looking at the pictures on the wall. What are they absorbing? And I'm getting your cat isn't absorbing the energy. It's more tuning into the souls of the who's in that picture. So what happens is a picture is an inanimate object, but when a human looks at the picture of people, for example, let's say it's a family photo, whether we do it or not, consciously or not, when we look at a family photo, we're actually imprinting or connecting, making a tether between or cord between the person in that on that photo and the soul of that person. So then what happens is sometimes the soul, if they're not living, for example, like they're in the astral realm, they will be close to that picture, like because that you've connected that picture and the photo together, if that makes sense. The photo and the spirit, the soul together, and you've made that connection. So then that's what the cat is tuning into, more the soul of the picture. And then also too,
I keep getting the word familiarizing.
yeah. So I'm actually was going to get to that. Thank you. So thank you for the reminder. That's good. So what happens though is like, say for example, your loved one, let's say your mom or father, or aunt or uncle, or your grandmother or whatever, whoever that person is in the photo. Sometimes if they're trying to get your attention, they might put themselves like put their like soul close to that photo. So the animal, in this case your cat Amanda, is looking at that photo, and then that gives you maybe a hint. Hey, grandma's here, or whoever is in that photo. Like the soul is there and wanting to get your attention. So, thank you for the reminder. Familiars. What familiars are? A great example is Sabrina the cat, or Sabrina and her black cat. So, Sabrina the witch. but then she has her black cat. So in this context, this whole story is that the black cat is like a familiar, and the familiar is just a fancy term for an animal that you have a major soul connection with them, but they're a very special category and they're way more rare than people might think. And so you watch some of these witchy kind of shows where they have these witches have like an animal with them, and oftentimes that animal can provide and do things that a regular pet wouldn't be able to do or wouldn't do on a more spiritual and soul level. So they might be able to like do some protection stuff. They might be able to do some like other spiritual kind of activities with that person where they collaborate together. And that's why you see them, they're always like communicating with each other and working together and collaborating. So it doesn't have to be a cat. And I was like, does it have to be a cat? So I was, when I first developed my animal communication, where my animal communication workshop where I teach about familiars. No, it could be a dog, it could be other, it could even be birds or other pets, other animals, stuff like that. But again, don't make the assumption that just because you have a pet, automatically they're familiar. Familiars are much more rare than people think. So yeah, great question, Amanda. I love it. Um,
Yeah. So she just wanted to comment, that is so cool, as she actually paws at it as well, very gently. And then she says, thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Very cool. Very cool.
I'm trying to figure out. So we have Allison from Airdrie. Thank you, Allison, for everything. Love this girl. She's like one of my favorite people on the whole planet. She came across me many, many, many years ago and decided to take my channeling workshops way back in the day. And she's just super sweet. So I have she has a big place in my heart for her. From all the way from Airdrie, just outside of Calgary, Alberta. And then also, Life is Now Therapy. Hi, Ken. Keep up the amazing work. So, again, with Instagram handles, please put your name. So, because I'm like, I don't know whose handles whose. My handle's really, really simple. My Instagram, if you want to follow me, or just it's Ken and then Lewicki. So you can see it here. And then also on YouTube, just any social media, look up my name, first and last name. I have a YouTube channel as well. So, yeah, let's keep going. This is great. If you're watching, just ask a question in the chat box, anything about spirituality. And then also, if you would like to put your name and where you're from, I'll give you a shout out. There's a lot of people that are watching right now that I don't know where they're from. They haven't put their name and all that. So if you could do that, that'd be great. Let's go on to the next question, Iona.
Yeah, sure. Not a problem. So the next question, how do I know if I'm a new soul or an old soul?
Ooh, good question. Okay, let's differentiate between the two. What is a new soul? What is an old soul? So we have basically um, there's no such thing really as an old soul, new soul, but basically an old soul for the context of this planet is a soul who's incarnated many, many hundreds, if not thousands of times on this one planet, and they would be considered old souls to this planet. Whereas a new soul or a starseed is someone from another star system who has very rarely, if at all, ever incarnated on planet Earth. So then they come and they're like, oh, let's try this next lifetime incarnating on planet Earth. And then they're like, WTF? No, I'm kidding. That's a joke. Some of them are actually like, what's going on here? But like, I was just working with a new soul the other day, and I'm like, you're here to help humanity, so please help us if you can. It's your choice. You don't have to. There's no obligation when you incarnate. You don't have to do anything, but we would really appreciate your help. We could use your assistance and help. I was saying to this lady, who is definitely a starseed. So I just want to clarify, like, if somebody is an old soul, you don't have to be all like, egotistical about it. Look at me, I'm an old soul. And if somebody's a new soul, it's not good or bad, right or wrong. It's just a new soul for this planet. Most of us, if you're watching this, you've incarnated on many different planets in the universe, and some planets that you've incarnated on have been more evolved than this one, and some you've incarnated have been less evolved than this one. So I know as much as people think how hard life is on this planet Earth, and I'm not saying it's not. I've gone through my ups and downs as well throughout my life journey. There's actually planets in the universe that are much worse than planet Earth that you most likely have incarnated on. And when I check psychically, and you're welcome to check this, I keep getting that Earth is actually somewhere in the middle. It's not too harsh. It's not too like extreme one way or the other. So it's actually
Mhm.
somewhere in the middle. What is the new Earth? The new Earth is actually happening right now. That's us um, becoming more conscious, more aware, more enlightened, more awakened as a species, and we're entering into that new Earth, that new phase. And there's a lot of what's called highly evolved species out there in the universe that have gone past a lot of these low level energies that us as humans are going through right now in this planet, like world wars and other kinds of things like that. They've overcome that, and they become more conscious, more aware, more enlightened, so that they don't need to do these low energies, low frequencies, low vibrations anymore. And we are doing that right now. So if you're a light worker, working in the light worker, please keep doing this. We need your help. Keep spreading the light, however it is that you're doing it in the community. And if you're encouraged to do it at a bigger scale, greater scale, please do. I encourage that as well. I would say most of my students that come to my training are light workers of some capacity. They're helpers in the helping industry. And you don't have to be a light worker in the spirituality industry. Like I've had nurses, and I'm like, you're doing this great work. I've had people who do childcare, and I'm like, you're helping. Like there's so many ways to help humanity, which is
Mhm.
great and important, and we need all of you. So, what an how to differentiate or tell the difference between an old soul and a new soul? It's actually really obvious. So let's say, for example, you have two brothers. One's an old soul, one's a new soul, and the new soul is like touching everything. Everything's novel. Everything's new. It's like, touching this, sticking forks and knives into light sockets and all this crazy stuff. And the old soul is the other brother's like looking at like looking at him like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? Like, don't you know any better? Don't you know not to do that? And the old soul's like, or the new soul is like, literally doesn't. It has no clue because it's all new to that soul. And then there's also another, it's actually funny to watch. I love working with new souls, by the way. They're great. They're just so, yeah, they have a close spot to my heart as well. So, another important thing or differentiate between new souls and old souls is that oftentimes new souls will come to this planet and they will be like super highly allergic to a lot of these modern day like chemicals that we put in things. So things like pesticides or GMOs, genetically modified kind of things, stuff like that, or these like, you get those like pre-made like lasagnas or something in the frozen food pretty much almost everything in the frozen food section has like all these like additives and like you look on the side of the box. I call them boxed foods, and you look on the side of the box and it has all these ingredients that you can't read. Most likely, not all the time, but there's probably some of those ingredients that aren't healthy for us, that's been chemically made, and our bodies are like what are you putting into my body? And so a new soul will actually have allergies to a lot of these chemicals because they're not natural, they're not healthy for us. And or even laundry detergent that has scent in it, and they'll have an allergy to the scents or the chemicals in the laundry detergent. But that can actually be good for us, or the family, because then they'll be forced to buy healthier foods, like maybe fresh foods or organic foods and stuff like that. Or they'll be forced to use non-chemical laundry detergents or other soaps and conditioners and things like that, shampoos and you name it, consumables, toiletries, things like that, that won't have that adverse reaction for their child. But then oftentimes they end up just using it for the whole family. So the whole family ends up going chemical free or more organic or maybe vegan or vegetarian, stuff like that, because their child is. So it can actually, these new souls are often very healthy and can provide a positive impact for us and our species. So I love new souls and old
Yeah.
souls. I love them all, but yeah, they're great. So yeah, if you're watching, just give your name and a shout out where you're from. I'll give you a shout out back. And if you have any questions, yeah, please feel free to type it in the chat box.
Yeah. So Cynthia from Nova Scotia, Canada says, happy to be tuning in and sends out a hello to Ken.
Hi, Sin. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah. And next question. This one is one of my favorite topics. Is there a difference between rocks, stones, and crystals?
Ooh. Um, yeah. So, way back in the day, I wasn't really into crystals or anything. Spirituality is a very big, large topic. Like it's a actually, you'd be surprised how many subtopics there are, how many different. If you think of like a pie chart and all the different pies of the chart. Um, and so back in the old days, 15, 20 years ago, I was into more like meditation and channeling and those aspects of spirituality. And then I hear people talk about crystals and all that, but I didn't really get into it. And then it wasn't until I moved to Calgary in 2014 when one of my this person that I met was all like, "Oh, crystals this, crystals that. Do you have crystals? Crystals this?" I'm like, "No, I don't even know anything about crystals. Like I don't know. Like I've been to crystal shops before, but I didn't really get into it." And then she started teaching me about crystals, and I was like, "Oh, cool." And then she would put like this. This is an actual rock, by the way, so it's not a crystal. Whereas this one right here, this is a obviously a crystal, right? And then I have a whole bunch of crystals everywhere, and then I have different kinds of crystals. That's a Merkaba crystal, and then I have like yeah, pyramid shaped crystal. This is a rock. So I would hold back in the day when she's like, she'd put this crystal in my hand and go, and I'd go, she's like, "Do you feel it?" I'm like, "Feel what?" She's like, "Yeah, don't you feel that?" I'm like, "No, I don't feel a thing." She's like, "It just feels like a hunk, like a rock to me, like a hunk of rock." She's like, "What? What do you mean you can't feel
Cold
that?"
hard thing. What do you want?
I'm like, I don't feel anything. I thought I was dumb or stupid or like not like I was like, what's the matter with me? Why can't I feel it? Where she can and everyone else can, and or like everyone in the spiritual community that I've been a part of for years, they can all feel it. Why can't I? Like, what's the matter with me? And what happened was, it's a real story actually, where I actually wasn't attuned or sensitive enough at that time to feel the subtleties of the different kinds of crystals out there. Now I go into like a crystal shop and I feel one, I'm like, whoa, holy, that's intense, that's cool. And then I put it down and I pick up another one. I'm like, oh my goodness, that's like so different. And I don't even have to touch them. I could just like run my hand over them or even feel them when I walk into the room, and I could right away hone in on them and feel
Mhm.
them. And they're very intense now. Why? Because if you think of like, let's say for example, I'm wearing like three t-shirts, two sweaters, a hoodie, and then and then a big thick huge like heavy winter jacket, and then somebody comes up and hits me with a twig on that jacket, hits me with a twig, and I'm like, I don't feel a thing, I don't even notice anything. It's because I have all these layers that are covering me. And then as I went along my journey and I started doing more healing and clearing, started like becoming more healthier, and then I also started doing more like also my spiritual upgrades and enhancements to allow me to become more sensitive and all that. Then it's almost like like that big winter jacket's off, that hoodie's off, maybe two and then I could, and somebody hits me with that twig and I still have the sweaters and the t-shirts on, I could start to feel it a little bit. And then I take the sweaters off and it's just the three t-shirts, and then they hit me with that twig, I'm like, okay, now I start to really really feel it, and then I'm down to one t-shirt, and then I could feel it like super strong. So that's kind of like why I suggest, not the only reason, the biggest reason why I suggest doing your regular healing and clearing is to just to become a healthier member of society, because we need healthier people on this planet. But then there's all sorts of side benefits like being able to be more attuned or in touch with crystals. I also do give spiritual upgrades, enhancements on how to basically an attunement, a crystal attunement, so my students can actually connect with crystals at a lot stronger, deeper level than without the attunement. So that's kind of like an enhancement that will allow you to connect with them stronger. And then also there's crystal divas. So the question is there a difference between what? Rocks, stones, and crystals? Is that the question?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. The answer is yes, but the answer is no. So crystals aren't necessarily like alive, like they're not a being, but they do have conscience. They do have like awareness or conscience, kind of like a tree. A tree is alive, of course, and a crystal is alive. Everything, if you different depending
Hmm.
on your theology, everything is alive. But there's different forms of like conscience. I would say so. Crystals definitely have much more conscience than, for example, a rock. So this is just a plain rock from the river or whatever. But
Mhm.
if you feel it, like I'm feeling it right now, and I can actually feel the energy in it, and it actually is for a rock. It's actually has a lot of energy in it, like it's imbued. So what I'm teaching or what I'm talking about is a fancy word called it's called psychometry. So psychometry is where you can take an object and you can
Mhm.
read and feel the energy in different kinds of objects. You know, you can feel these energies, and depending on the material, like this is metal.
Yeah,
Um,
and who it belonged to.
right, you got it. And then maybe any messages, stuff like that. So every all materials can have some energy imbued into it, and you can
Mhm.
read that energy. So for example, like this, I definitely feel like the river very strong, like water, and it's yeah, like it's very very strong, like water energy in this
Mhm.
crystal or in this rock. Yeah, good question. So let's keep going.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me to tell the difference, like you said, they all have energy, but rocks. If you think like rocks, they don't grow, right? Like
Hmm.
they actually wear down when you think
Yeah,
about it, especially if they're in the river and stuff, right? There's
yeah, this
something
one's
that
worn
wears down
down.
and stuff. So they
Yeah.
have energy, but they don't. Whereas a crystal is something that has actually grown and formed and been created. So that's just, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
how I kind of feel. But
yeah. I went to this
either
museum
way,
in Calgary. Actually, it was the
mhm,
craziest cool museum dedicated 100% just to crystals, and they had crystals from all over the world. Like some of those crystals must have been a fortune because they're so rare. Some of them, but they're
mhm,
incredible. And they actually talk about how they grow in caves or different places, and they don't all grow in caves, by the way. They can grow
nope,
in many different locations and forms, and some of them like looked really cool, but had zero energy benefits or like energy signature. Like they had no hardly any energy at all. But then others, even if they like they could look super cool or they could just be really plain, but they were like super powerful. And I was like, whoa. And to have that whole variety of like it's way more than what you would think at a crystal shop because these are ones like the government purchased from, very rare locations around the world. So yeah, it was really
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Love this stuff. And Iona has all sorts of, so we won't go into her crystal collection, but she has a ton in the background there and all over the place.
Yes, yes. I have a whole
But
wall of them
let's go
bookshelf.
on before we go down that rabbit hole. Let's go on to the
Yeah,
next
yeah.
question.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole. Um, Cheryl Otterbane just wanted to say, amazing Ken Lewicki. Love what you do.
Oh my goodness, Cheryl, great to have you.
Mhm.
She's in the Edmonton region and one of my favorite people. Super amazing hypnotherapist trainer. She teaches people how to be hypnotherapists. So if you get a chance to connect with Cheryl, please do. She's an incredible woman. I have tons of respect for her. Thank you for tuning in today, Cheryl. Woo woo.
Mm, interesting. Hypnotherapy.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
very it's a cousin of channeling. They're,
Yes.
they're
Yeah.
cousins. Yeah, yeah.
All right. So next question. If I expand my auric field, will I be susceptible to picking up other people's energies?
If you expand your auric field,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. I'm actually one of the things I like to do once in a while in my Ask Ken shows. Instead of just if you're watching this right now, I know you might be doing other tasks or whatever, but if you can just take a moment to stop what you're doing, and I'm going to invite you to do something right now. So if you want to close your eyes, you can. You don't have to, but I do recommend if you can. If you're driving, keep your eyes open. Please. I tell my students as a joke, I'm like, channel everywhere, all the time, every environment, all that, even when you're driving. But make sure you keep your eyes open. Don't be like, get into an accident and then tell a police officer, well, my mentor, Ken, he told me to channel while I'm driving, so I closed my eyes and crashed into somebody. No, no, no. Please keep your eyes open. Anyways,
It
so
gets easier.
yes, yes, and practice channeling with your eyes open eventually over time. But I do recommend if you're beginning to channel, close your eyes. I can't remember what the sensory input. It was like 80% of all the senses, like between the ears, the nose, the mouth, like the smell and the taste and the audient and the sensations. Almost 80% is visual. That's why we have this big like cortex. Anyways, so that's a different story. So when we close our eyes, it just takes a huge chunk of our sensory input out of the equation, and then we're able
Mhm.
to better tune into things. So if you can close your eyes for a moment, I'll get you to go ahead and do this right now. Don't do anything right yet. Just close your eyes and just feel that auric field around you. Feel your aura and feel where it is. Like, is it close to your body? Is it far from your body? You can do a little bit of an assessment on it right now. So, does it what kind of health state is it in, if you want? But again, just stay away from judging it, like, or judging you or anything like that. I try to encourage my students not to go into the judging state when they're checking out their different aspects. It just is what it is. And then you can either do healing on it yourself or go see a healer that can help you with your auric field. And so now, how close is it to your body? Like, is it close? What happens oftentimes when we get into like a triggered state, or again, like some jerk cuts you off on the road or something like that, we can collapse our auric field, or maybe we're having some situations at work or with a partner, or a relationship situation that's upsetting us, or financial, it could be a gazillion things. Then what can happen is we can collapse our auric field and make it really close to us. So it's not done on purpose, it's unintentional. So what I'm going to get you to do right now is go ahead and expand your auric field. Try to make it nice and big, nice and wide. So 3, 2, 1, nice deep breath. Just expand your auric field outward, front, back, left, right, up, down, 360 degrees, all directions. Just make it nice and big and wide. Okay. Now just go ahead and feel into your auric field now. And how is it different? Like, how is it? Is it should be further away? Um, and it should be actually in a slightly healthier state. Like, the health of it might or might not change, because that's not really what we're focusing on here. But because you're putting your conscience, your awareness of it, so your consciousness, your awareness on it, then you're actually can be doing some healing on it as well, and improvement on it, on its health. So, Iona, do you notice the difference?
Mhm.
Yeah, and yours was not too bad. It wasn't super super close, but it was definitely closer than it should have been.
Yeah.
And how does it feel to have it wider, like further out?
The only way I can describe it is it feels lighter, if that makes sense. Like the air around me feels lighter.
Yeah, and
And
not so like claustrophobic,
yeah,
like, yeah,
yeah,
enclosed. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I also,
So
at one point, I also got a little bit of chills because I think I started feeling the energy from my crystals, because it did that when we were talking about crystals and like energies that they send off and stuff. Yeah, I got just like body chills. It was kind
yeah,
of cool.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love it when that happens.
Um, so what happens is, when we, I'm just going to expand myself so you can see my. If
Mhm.
you have you ever like looked at somebody and they're like standing against like a light colored wall, like a white wall or something like that. You can maybe look at mine right now, and if you look very carefully, if you see like a thin layer that's around the person, that's what's called their etheric self. So that's not their auric field; it's a different aspect. It's like a few centimeters, 1 to 2 centimeters, really close to along their body. Um, that's a very important aspect. Almost all the time when I do healing on people, I'll heal or clear their etheric self, because it's if that is gunked up and all has all sorts of stuff in it, it could definitely affect people in a detrimental way. So
Mhm.
yeah, for sure, like in really really bad consequential ways. So that part needs to be definitely clear. And then if you look at, like, if you ever see someone against a light colored wall and you see this like big halo around them, that's their auric field. So oftentimes what happens is, when we go through just life happens kinds of things, we have traumatic events, or it doesn't even have to be a big thing. Like I said, it could be someone cuts you off, or somebody triggers you, or somebody says something mean to you, or I don't know, somebody accidentally bumped into you on the street, and then you're like, you kind of like get jarred or something like that, and then you collapse your field. So it's a protection system, your auric field, or you protect, you collapse it, but it's not a healthy state to be in. So ideally, you want your auric field, like you think of me, for example. How do you think I walk around? Do you think I walk around like this and with a collapsed auric field? No, I want to like
Mhm.
take up space. I want to be big. I want to be bright. I want to shine my like a light worker. I want to shine my light bright upon the world and everywhere I go, and
Mhm.
not in an arrogant, egotistical way. It's just to the full potential of who I really am, the natural state of who I am. I'm just like I'm here, I'm vibrant, I'm alive, and I'm doing my mission, doing my purpose, and just living life to its fullest. And then also, same thing with your chakras. You never want to shut down your chakras. You always want to keep them in an optimal health, like optimal state. So each chakra shouldn't be too open or too tight. They should all be in a relatively equal kind of size, because there's what's called overfunctioning chakras, and then that makes the other ones around it underfunctioning. So we want to make sure that all our chakras are open and they're flowing and they're nice and clean and clear. They're not like all gunked up and contaminated, and never shut them down. Like keep them open. That's the way I live, and that's where I encourage all my students to live. One thing that's really important is not to live fear based. Like some people like, oh, I'm going to the mall. I need to put on all these like, protection systems. I need, it's like, no, just go to the mall. And if things come up when you're there, that's fine. But very rarely, like when I go to the malls or whatever, do I ever have to worry about that stuff. I'm just living my life,
Mhm.
enjoying it. Or if I go to a public event or whatever, I just go. And then if something comes up during that public event, which again is rare, maybe once every few months, something like that. Like of all the events that I go to, let's say I go to 20 events, and then, maybe the 19th one, there was something there that is affecting me. No big deal. I just deal with it in the moment. And then I continue on chatting and having fun with my friends. Or if it's a dance, I'm dancing and, playing. So by the way, spirituality is meant to be fun. So some of you watching, have more fun in your life. Okay. Like, stop taking life so serious, but be intentional about having fun. Like, don't be like, oh, if fun stumbles across me, then I'll embrace it. No, no, go out of your way, like do that as well, but go out of your way to create fun. Maybe try to go into different events that are fun, and make it like don't just go once, go on a regular basis, or try different things, stuff like that. Anyways, so that's the auric field. I have a question coming in from um, so so Nola is a student. She's just taken my channeling level 1 and channeling level 2 workshops. Hi, Nola. Whoop, whoop. Thank you for tuning in. She's from Australia, just south of Perth. I'm driving, so I kept my eyes open while I expanded my auric field. Cool. Well done. My click, wonderfully, my click showed 1010, or her odometer, and was able to also show, oh, I think her, anyways, her, yeah, her time stamp, her time, her clock, and then also her odometer also showed 1010. What a
Cool.
beautiful confirmation or correction to spirit,
Yep.
connection to spirit. That's cool. Thank you, Nola. That's really sweet. I know. I
That
love
is
this.
it's really cool when that stuff kind of happens. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So,
For sure.
that's a really good point too. Is for those of you watching, there's a whole entire module, like section that I teach on this, which is in my channeling level 1 workshop, which is how do spirit guides get our attention.
Hmm.
And this is really important because when a spirit guide is in spirit form, they're members of your soul family, so they're in the astral realm. It's actually quite difficult to be a spirit guide, and so they try all these different ways to get our attention. And the thing is, like, are we paying attention? Like, are we aware of it? Us, dumb humans that are incarnated, like, ooh, walking around like so oblivious to what's going on in the spirit realm. And so they're like trying this and they're trying that and they're trying this. Come on, Ken, can't you tell we're trying to get your attention? And I'm just like, oh, what? Like, and we're just like, so whenever you see these signs, and there's a gazillion different kinds of signs that like, it could be feathers, it could be dimes, it could be, coincidences, or it could be, like in this case, numbers, or it could be, you got a message all of a sudden from someone, or, it could be, all sorts of different ways that your spirit guides might try to get your attention. So when they do try to get your attention, A lot of times people just stop there, like, oh, that must be my loved ones or my spirit guides trying to get my attention. Okay, that's great. But as a channeler, I'm going to encourage you to step it up. And the way to do this is to go, okay, so now how do I, like, so who is it? Like, always know who it is. Who's trying to get my attention? Is it a random soul, an ascended master soul? Is it a loved one soul? Is it a spirit, a soul family member, or a spirit guide, or something else? You know, why are they trying to get my attention? Who is it, first of all? And then once you know who it is, then why are they trying to get my attention? What's the message? So a lot of times people stop at, oh, I found a coin on the ground, and then you know, no, okay, that's great, or a feather, or I saw a butterfly, or something like that. Okay, that's great, but then ask the next question, which is, okay, so who's trying to get my attention, and what is the message? What is the message? And sometimes, like in Nola's case, I'm checking right now, it's also confirmation. And then
Mm-hmm.
in her case, the message to her is to do this exercise on expanding your auric field more often. So that's if you're watching this NOLA still, just go ahead and do that. Like, try to expand your auric field more often rather than it just being like during this one Ask Ken show that you've watched. It's a really good habit to get into, but again, not like 3 times a day, maybe once every few weeks or a month, every month or so. Or if you feel like you feel your auric field is collapsed in, then just go ahead, no big deal, expand it outward. But the thing that caused you to collapse it most likely is a trigger. So again, we want to do healing and clearing on that, so that next time that event, whether it's a person or a situation on externally happens in the future, then we've healed and cleared it, so it doesn't bother us quite as much because we've healed and cleared that trigger or that button that's been pushed. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely don't want to be staying in that space.
Yeah. Wow. Looks
Yeah.
like we're coming to a
Yep, I think our hour is up.
whoop whoop. The Ask Ken show. So if
Great.
you're watching this, everyone, thank you for tuning in. And feel free to check out my website, channelinginc.com. All my workshops are there. Thank you so much. I do this once a month to provide a forum for you to ask any spiritual questions. So if you have any questions about spirituality, you can type in the questions, and then we'll add it to my list, and then tune in the next time to have your question answered, or just tune in the next time. And also, feel free to ask that question then. And then if you know anyone who think this might be interesting to them, feel free to share the link with them while it's live or before it starts. So that'd be great.
Yeah, that was great to be a part of this. Thank
Yeah.
you again, Ken, for allowing me to be a part of this. Really enjoyed being here.
And thank you, Iona, for hosting this and being the moderator. I really appreciate it. And we will all see you next time, everyone. Love you all.
Take
Hugs and
care.
kisses, everyone.
Have fun.
Woohoo.